Today we are going to cover the topic of the iterative control structures, in which we will talk about for each, while and do while loops. Hello everyone, this is Meedhansh and welcome back to the Java series. So let's get straight to our screen. Alright, so let us begin with the while loop first. So we will create a public class and let's keep the name Iterative Control Structures Demo, let's say, because we are demonstrating all of them. Now inside this we will have our main method, public static void main, string args. Let us save this. Iterative control structures demo.java. Okay. Inside this, first of all, we will start with the while loop. Now there are basically four types of loops which are available in Java. The while, then we have the do while, for and for each. There are two different categories. One is the for category and the other one is the while category. So we have for each, and in the category of while we have the while loop and the do while loop. Okay, so firstly while, let us just take a look at the steps which are required to perform a simple while loop. And what we are going to do is, let's say we will print the value from 1 to 10. So first we will have a number, let's say int I. I is every programmer's favorite in case of loops. Like all the time we just simply write the int I. So inside the while loop, now we have the condition. If I is less than equal to 10. Now inside the while loop, what we are going to do is, we will simply print the number I, simple, and I++. I will talk about the steps. Let us just try running it first. So we will compile it. Iterative control structures demo.java, Java iterative control structures demo. Got the output 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 10. Now let us talk about the steps which are necessary in almost all the loop. So the first step is this, int I is equal to 1, which is initialization. So we initialize a particular variable through which we are going to check the condition next. Now the second thing is condition inside the brackets of the while. So this is the condition. Third step is performing something. That depends upon us, like it's not really necessary. But the major three steps are initialization, condition, and the last one is either increment or decrement. Any of them. So in this case, we are doing the post increment. We can do the post decrement as well. Like let's say we have this loop. I is greater than equal to 1 and we initialize it as 10. So I minus minus. We will save it. Try running it. And we got the opposite. Like instead of from 1 to 10, we got from 10 to 1. So this is how the while loops work, and those are the main three steps: the initialization, condition, and the increment or decrement as necessary. So we want to print from 1 to 10, so we will do this, like we will initialize it as 1 and then less than equal to 10. Now let us take a look at how is it working. First off, we initialize the integer I is equal to 1. Then inside the while loop we have a condition. I is less than equal to 10. Now in the first case, is it less? Yes. So we did something, we performed the action, we printed the I, value of I, and then we incremented it. Now again, we start from here, we don't start from here. So now the value of I is 2. So 2 is less than 10, yes. So it will go on, and then the moment it is 10, so 10 is equal to 10. We will get it printed, and the next time we will not have the same value. Now this was a simple while loop using which we can print anything. Over here, either we can print, let's say hello 10 times. So loops are necessary because let's say if I tell you to print hello world 100 times. So either you will write the system.out.println hello world 100 times in the program, or simply within 5 statements you can execute a while loop or a for loop to print the hello world 100 times. So we will retry this, and we got the hello 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the desired output is done. Now, moving on to the for loop. Now, why is for loop important? Since we know all the three things about the initialization, about the condition, and the increment decrement. So to make it a little shorthand and easy for us to write, what we can do is we can convert this whole process into the while loop. We will remove the increment decrement, and instead of while we will put the for. Now in for we will have the int I directly initialized within the block. Int I is equal to 1. First step, initialization. Second, I is less than equal to 10. Second step, condition. Third, I plus plus, increment decrement. Third step, all the three steps within a single statement. Like if we know the initialization part, that what is the initial value of I, till what number we want to run the loop, and how many times will it be incremented. So in that case, we can simply use the for loop. Now we reduced two statements and we combined the other two into a single statement, which is int I 1. Then the next statement, I is less than equal to 10, and then I plus plus, and we printed the hello, or let's say we print the I. So let's save this and let's run. Let's clear the screen. And we got the same output from 1 to 10. There's no difference. But it is the shorthand and easy for us to write. And how is it working? Firstly, it is initialized, int I. And then it is the condition is set that I is less than equal to 10. Yes. Then we skip this statement and we directly go inside the loop. Once the condition says that yes, it is true. So we print something, perform something, then we come back here. Now we skip these two and we run this first. So I plus plus. Now the value of I will be 2. Now instead of going to the beginning, because we do not want to initialize it again, or it will be an infinite loop. So in that case, we skip it. We just run this particular statement only once, and the first time this statement is also skipped. Then the second time, third time, this statement is skipped and only these two work. Condition is checked. If true, then it goes inside. And if the condition says that no, it does not match, if it returns false, then in that case the loop will break or it will exit. So this is how the for loop works, and it is really easy for us to write in the for loop. But it's not always like for loop is the best one. They both have their own pros and cons. The con for the for loop is that we must know all the three statements, and the loop in the for loop will be a definite loop. Although we can make it an indefinite one, but most of the times for loops are used to make a definite loop. But to make the indefinite loops, or also known as the OR loops, like when we don't know that how many values are to be printed, then in that case we have the while loop again, which are the OR loops. So let's take an example of having a loop which asks the user to say yes or no, like do they want to continue or they want to stop. And let us take an example of a game. Now we will first initialize a variable which will be char type. So let's say OP or option or opting for whatever. So let's say option. And by default, we keep it as y, means yes. Now inside the condition, like it is the first process, which is the initialization. If we don't even initialize it, then also it is fine. But at that time, nothing will happen. The reason is that we will give the condition particularly. So option is equal to y. The moment the option is yes or y, only then the while loop will work. So in the first case, it will work because the option is y. Now we will print, let's say, system.out.println, let's say play game. Then we have another one which is system.out.println. Do you want to continue? We'll ask the question. We'll leave a space, but not print ln this time because we want the user to put the input somewhere here like y or n. So that's why we will not have the next line character. Then now we will use a new thing which is the scanner. So java.util.scanner s equal to new java.util.scanner and inside the brackets system.in. Now you might be thinking that why are we not importing the package like java.util.star? The reason is that we are just using one single class which is scanner. So either we have to import it and then use it, or we can simply use the fully qualified class name or FQCN. So basically this is the fully qualified class name, and using this I can directly use the scanner class. Scanner class is basically used for getting the user input, and in this case I am getting the user input from the keyboard. So system.in, which is the keyboard. And this is the way we can use. Otherwise what we could have done is at the top we will put something like this: import java.util. either star or scanner. But that's of no use. Like we just want to use it at one place. So why to import it? Instead just simply use it right over here without importing it. And if we are doing the java.util.star just for one class, then that might be the bad programming because it will take a little more time than this because we are just using one class here, and in that case we will import the whole package, and java.util has thousands of classes. So we just required one which is scanner. So we will use the FQCN, fully qualified class name Java. Then inside the Java package we have the util. Inside the util package we have a class named scanner which scans the user input from the keyboard. So this is the use of scanner. Now next we will do is we will change the value in the option according to the user. So s.next. Now next function reads the string, but if we just simply write this much, then it will produce an error. Let's check out the error. See, like I just had to run it, but it was running successfully, but we are not running this one because it has not compiled even. So it says that incompatible types. String cannot be converted to char. Why? Because the next function reads the whole string. But in this case, char can only store one character. So what we can do is we will put another function which is dot char at, means the character at the position 0. Like strings are also array of characters. So in the array of characters, we will take the first index which is the 0th index, and on the 0th index whatever is stored we will simply copy it to the option. And if it is y, then the while loop will run again and ask the question again. If it is something else than y, then we will simply break the loop and our program will stop working. Let us check if it's working correctly or not. This is an example of the OR loop basically. Let us just clear the screen again. Try to compile it. It is now successfully being compiled because we are now just reading a single character, and Java has no problem with it in the case of the char data type. So let us run. It says the play game, and then do you want to continue? I say y. It will again print it y. Like so many times I put, it will just continue to show the message. So this is how the odd loops work. Like we don't know that how many times the user will say y or yes. And if I write something else, let's say no or n, so it will break. Even if I write something else, like let's say u or p, it will still break because we are just checking the input as the y and we are not saying that else it should be n. So this is how the odd loops work in the case when we don't know that how many times the loop will work. There's another good example for it, that when we are working with the database, in that case we don't know how many records are there inside the database. So at that time also we prefer to use the while loop so that we can simply get the much number of records available in the database. If there are 10, 20, 100, 1000, so the while loop will get all of them until the loop exhausts and there are no more data sets available inside it. So this is the third type, or not of the loops, but it is the second type of while loop and the good use of while loop, which is the odd loop. For loop is the shorthand for while loop, but while loops are also very useful. So they are useful at their own places. We can also convert this into another type of loop, which is the do while loop. How? Like first off, we have to initialize that yes, the person wants to play the game at least once. So since the person will definitely play the game at least once since he opened the game, so in that case, we will not prefer the while loop. Instead, we will prefer the do while loop. So let us just remove this all and we will begin with the do while. So the property of do while loop is that it always runs once, like without even asking the user, it will run once and then it will check the condition, and then when the user says this, yes, I want to play the game, only then it will run again. But at least it will run once by its own without asking the user. So and do, then we have the while and the semicolon in this case. Now firstly we will just have the char outside again, char let's say option. In this case we will not enter anything, it will be the empty initialization. Now inside the do, what we will do is we can do the same thing which we did in the previous one, which was the odd loop. We can convert these odd loops into the do while as well. And system.out.println, let's say playing game. Then we print, do you want to play more? Because the person has already played it once, so if he wants to play more, he will say why. Otherwise, it will enter something else, the person will enter something else and the loop will break. So we will ask, do you want to continue? And the same thing, we will have a scanner this time again and we will remove the ln. Actually, it's a habit to put the ln, so make sure if you are doing something like this according to the user interface, so you may remove the ln also. Now we will write here the java.util.scanner, the FQCN for scanner is equal to new java.util.scanner. System.in as the keyboard. Now in the next line, option is equal to s.next. Again it will give the error, so we have another function char at. Make sure A is capital. Let's say 0 because we want to read only one character. And even if we don't, it will still read 1, but it will give the error of the incompatibility of the type, that we cannot convert the string into the char data type. So that's it. And now in the while we will have the condition. Let's say we have the same condition, option is equal to y. Simple. Now let's run it. We must get the same output, I guess. And run. Yes, it has already initialized the do while loop once. Like it run the loop once and then it will ask, do you want to continue? although we did not mention there that we have already initialized y or n. So this is how the do while loop works, and like see how does it work. First we initialize it although we did not give it any value. So then the do while, like the do starts automatically. It will print everything once and it will just stop here and waiting for the user input. And once the user inputs something, then it will check in the while that is the option equal to y or is it something else. And if it is y, then it will again go to the do and it will print the same thing. Or if it is not y, then the loop will break. Simple. So let us test it. Y. Let's say print some, when if I write yes, it will still work because we are just reading the first character, like the character at the 0th index. So it will still work. Like if I even write W, A, H, C, anything, it will still work. But if I write something else, let's say N, O, no, it will stop working. It will break the loop. It will exit. So this is how the do while works. Moving on to the final type of loops, which is the for each. Although it is also the for loop, like in PHP we call it for each and we write it also as for each. But in case of Java, we write it as for only. So let's say we have an array and we want to iterate through this array. So we have a string array, string, let's say cars, car brands. So inside this, we have, let's say, 5 different types of brands, names of brands. Let's say Ferrari, Toyota, Mazda, Honda, and let's say Ford. So we have an array and we need to iterate through this. So one way is to write something like this, the for loop simple one. So in I is equal to 0, we will start from 0 because it's the 0th index. I is less than cars dot len and I plus plus. And inside this, we can just print it. System.out.println cars, like I of cars. Let's test it. It's working successfully. We have got all the names according to the array or list. Now, this is not the for each loop. This is still the for loop only. So for the for each loop, we will simply write string, let's say C, the place where we are going to store the name of the first element or the second or the third and so on. Then a colon and then the place from where we are going to iterate through. So basically we have the array over here, so we will write the name of the array without the square brackets. Square brackets are not required either. Now inside this, we don't have to write this because we do not have the I anywhere, like we don't have the index. So that's why we'll simply write C. That's it. It's as simple as that. Much easier. We'll just compare them. They both give us the same output. So for each loop is specialized to iterate through the dataset. For example, we had an array in this case. So we iterated through the whole array with the help of just 3 statements, like 4. But although we can reuse them, we can just not have the curly braces. We will test them if it's still working or not. Yes, it's working fine. Within just 2 statements, we have iterated through the whole array. And if we have some more brands also, we can iterate through them as well. So even if there are like hundreds of elements stored in an array, the for each loop is successful enough so that we can just simply print all of them and iterate through them. In this case, we are just printing, but if we want to compute something, then we can do that as well. So those were the 4 types of loops which are available in Java: the while, for, do while, and for each loop. Now we will take a look at a different type of category of loops, which is the nested loop. Nested basically means that anything inside a loop, anything in the sense a loop inside a loop, that means the nested loop. Like even if we have a loop inside a loop, which is again inside a loop, so that is also a nested loop. Like we did for the if else. So we had the nested if else. Then we had the ladder of if else and that way. So the same thing we can do here, and let us take an example of a pyramid. We will create a pyramid of asterisks. So we will begin with the for loop. In this case, I am taking the for loop. But it is also possible like you take a while loop inside a for loop, you take a for loop inside a for each, you take a while loop inside a do while loop. So that's also possible. Any type of nested loop can be created according to the necessary things which are required. Now inside the for loop, I have the int I is equal to 1. I is less than, let's say we want 5 rows in the pyramid. We are going to print the one-sided pyramid, so like half of the pyramid. So in that case, let's say we require 5 or maybe 6 rows. So like the 6 rows of asterisks, and each row consists of one extra asterisk from the above one. I plus plus. So this is a simple statement for the for loop. Now inside this we have another for loop. For now we cannot take the int I again because the int I is already initialized and it's working. So we have the j is equal to 1. Let's say we have j is less than equal to I, j plus plus, and we will simply print the system.out.print, not ln again because we want the asterisk to be in a single line. Asterisk or a simple star we can call it, the multiplication sign basically. So, but in this case, all of them will be printed in the same line or the row. So what we can do is in the outer loop or the enclosing loop, we can have a simple print ln which is empty. Simple. ln will change the line to the next one. It will change the cursor's location. So let's save it and run. We should have the 6 rows of asterisks. And boom, we got it. We have the pyramid of 6 rows of asterisks. So the first row consists of 1 star, second one with 2, third one with 3, fourth one with 4, and so on. Let's have some fun with this one. What we can do is, let's say we have the 20. There should be a huge pyramid in this case. Try running it again. Compile it, run. Boom, we got a huge pyramid with 20 rows and each row has 1 extra star. We put a space in between so that we can see the pyramid properly. So this is how the nested loops work, and according to the necessity we use the for loops in both the cases because it is easier to use them. Now let us take a look at the mechanism. So firstly we have the for loop, the enclosing one. We have the int I is equal to 1. I is less than 20. Yes. So we get inside the loop. Inside the loop we have another loop. So it initializes the j. J is equal to 1. J is less than equal to I. Now I is 1. So yes, j is equal to I. Then inside the loop we print star. So a single star is printed. Then we put the next line character. We can also write it something like this. It will be the next line character by default. If we just write the print here. So this will give us the same output. Then we have the, like we also go to the top again. Now we will first of all increment the I. Now the value is 2. So 2 is less than 20. We will go inside. Now j again is 1. Like it is pre-initialized. Why? Because the loop is beginning again. So j is equal to 1. Is j less than 2? Yes. So 1 is less than 2. So it printed 1 star. Then again it will check the condition. Is j less than 2? So this time j++ says that the value of j is 2. So 2 is equal to 2. So we again printed the star and then it breaks. So now we go outside, we print the next line character and then we go again up here. We increment it and we will keep on doing this until the value for it is 20. So in this case now let's say the value of I is 20. So 20 is equal to 20 and then we go inside. So j, which is 1, is less than 20. Yes. So it will print the asterisk or star 20 times and then it will break. Then we have the next line character and it will check again that like it will increment it and the value for the I will be 21. So is 21 less than equal to 20? The answer is no. So this loop will break and this is how we got the resulting output as the pyramid of asterisks. This is how the nested loops work, and this is all about the loops known as the iterative control structures, which are very useful and they can also be combined with the if else statements. Let's say we have the if else inside a loop or we have a loop inside the if else. So this way both of these categories can be nested together as a compound as well. So let us just summarize what we have learned today. So we learned about different iterative control structures which are available in Java. We learned about the while loop, for loop, the or loops which are also the while loops. Then again we have the do while loop and the for each loops. Then we talked about the nested loops, and in the nested loops we took a look at the pyramid of asterisks. So that's it for today. I hope you liked the video, and if you have any queries related to the loop or the iterative control structures, you can comment down below. And thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next one.